My pleasure to introduce Meredith. Meredith is a environmental consultant based in the Great Southern, and she's written a book, a children's book. I'd love to steal a copy or donate a copy if there are any left. But welcome, thank you very much.
So I was a little bit surprised when I was asked to present my cat management book at the Dieback Forum, but we've had deer and we've had beetles, so I think it's probably apt. And I spent a bit of time in Dieback land, so I'm pretty happy to be here. So it's a novel approach to encouraging behaviour change, thanks to Mia for that pun. Basically, No Place Like Home is a children's storybook that I wrote. It introduces some lesser known animals in our bush. I wanted to share the love with children and hopefully influence their adults in their lives. And it also highlights the threat posed to them by cats, and in particular roaming domestic cats. So cats are a bit of a hot topic, very contentious. On the one hand, well, they are the same species, the one species, Felis catus. But on the one hand, you have the domestic cat, which is permitted under the BAM Act. On the other hand, you have the feral cat, which is declared as a pest under the BAM Act. And in the middle, there's this really murky grey area of stray cats, uncontained, that have some kind of interaction with humans, but we don't really know how to deal with them, so we don't really do much about them at the moment. So one thing they do all have in common, though, is they will impact native wildlife. And there's a few cat facts, particularly about domestic cats. They do take on average 186 mammals, birds, reptiles every year, and feral cats do more of an impact, but in an urban setting, you find that domestic cats can take, sorry, Nat, 28 to 52 times more compared to feral cats per square kilometres. So it's a really big issue. There is a solution, keeping your cat at home, that will protect native wildlife and cats as well. A cat kept at home will live about 4 or 5 times longer than a cat that is allowed to roam, get knocked over by cars, get attacked by dogs and run into all sorts of strife. So the book aims to encourage new social norms, change behaviour. Whoops, wrong way, Jose. So the origin, the book was born in Dryandra Woodlands. When I was at uni, I went out there, I did a trapping program of woylies to translocate them to South Australia for a breeding program. And when I was there, they were everywhere. They were so prevalent, you'd find them in your hut. Fast forward 15 years and a family holiday, and there were no woylies to be seen. They're listed as critically endangered, and and cat predation is a major contributor to that. I should also mention that they were the first species ever to be removed from the conservation list because of the success of Western Shield back in the day, but then they were relisted in 2008. So it was on the way home from that trip that the gist of this story just sort of spilled out of my brain, and I wrote it out on bits of scrap paper, and it sat in a drawer for a wee while, seeing the light of day every now and again, until I met the wonderful Christine Painter, who brought it to life with her drawings. So I wanted to engage children pre-readers. I wanted to engage them through illustrations and through rhyming and repetitive prose, so that they could pour through the book, they could anticipate what would happen, and they would absorb these animals and a love for the bush. And I also wanted to include some more detailed explanation for older children who might be interested in the native animals. I specifically chose unusual animals, if you like, not the ones that people hear about all the time. So we've got phascogales. I couldn't believe, even out of my friends, that no one had ever heard of a phascogale. We've got mardo, we've got possums, we've got owlet nightjar, and we've got woylie in the story. I wanted to engage these kids. I wanted to inspire these kids for the love of the bush so that then they would want to protect the bush. And unashamedly, I wanted to encourage them to be champions for nature and inspire their parents and the adults in their lives to do the same. So there are some known science communication goals: raising public awareness and interest in science, influencing attitudes, informing public policy, engaging with a broad section of community, and coming up with solutions. And I think the book does all of those things. I was really interested to hear at the Feral Cat Symposium earlier this year, the Invasive Species Council speaking about a feedback forum that they'd been holding, and where they'd found that messaging priorities included engagement of young people, protection of native wildlife, and having an easy solution, an easy action to employ, all being really important messages to help get your idea out there and accepted. So I think No Place Like Home addresses those things. It increases awareness. It engages children. It has a strong wildlife protection message. It combines science education with several literary effects, so your repetitive verse, your rhyming, onomatopoeia, which is a disgusting word to say. Essentially, it's words like words that have a sound. So thwack, chortle, sizzle. That's an example of onomatopoeia. And we have the Noongar words for the species to encourage cultural discussions too. But most importantly, it has a simple call to action. So I'm no Mem Fox, but in the words of Paul Kelly, it sure got tongues talking. And I don't know if you can actually read these. Is feedback from Facebook about the book, from teachers, from people involved in the environmental sector, from librarians. This top one: I'm a teacher librarian. I've read this book to many primary classes. The kids loved it and learnt so much. I would like to see the state government put a copy in every school. I'll approach my local council too. Education is just one of many strategies needed. And that's really heartening. I'm self-funded too. So, finally, I'll let you all go to lunch in a sec. I just want to thank all the people who've helped me on the journey so far. It was initially printed by the wonderful Brian Chambers at Swick, now Southwest NRM, and they distributed it there in Bunbury and Geocache down in Busselton last year. It's now been reprinted by Albany and Surround's Feral Cat Working Group, who have utterly embraced the book and are sharing it far and wide, in partnership with Oyster Harbour Catchment Group, Peel Harvey Catchment Council, and Friends of the Western Ground Parrot. Those printings were supported by funding from State NRM and Jane Goodall Roots and Shoots. And the artwork is all available if you or your organisation would like to reprint. You most certainly can just come and contact me. There are copies and a display outside. There's an example of a house with a catio, that's a cat patio, so you can help keep your cat happy at home. There are books there. They do cost about $10 each to create, so if you're able to make a donation to further printing, that would be really appreciated. There's a BSB number for a bank transfer. There's a jar for cash, but you don't have to. If you do take a book and you find that you no longer need it, please pay it forward. Please give it to your local school or library, you know, the waiting room at your local vet. If we can get the message out there and spread the word, we can encourage people to keep their cats at home and make that the social norm. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Meredith.